The phone rang just past 11. I almost let it go to voicemail. But the name flashing on the screen froze me. Mrs. Cortez, my neighbor across the street. Her voice shook as she whispered, "Maribel, I'm sorry to bother you so late, but there are people in your house." My heart hammered. At first I thought I'd misheard her. "What do you mean, people?" "I see lights, movement, music. They've been there at least an hour." I fumbled for my tablet and opened the security app. The feed flickered alive, far too clear to deny. My living room glowed with laughter and clinking glasses. And there, in my favorite chair, lounged Tadreen, my son. His wife Talia twirled in the center of the room while friends raised their glasses high. Not strangers. Not burglars. My own family. I pressed the tablet closer, unable to breathe. This wasn't just intrusion, it was betrayal. Adrian and Talia were the same people who told me I didn't need a house, who insisted everything I built should belong to them because they had children, and I did not. Now they were celebrating in the very space I had fought decades to create. I should have called immediately, should have screamed into the phone. But my fingers trembled over the call button, paralyzed by years of sacrifice and silence. My sanctuary was no longer mine. To understand the weight of that night, you'd have to know where I came from. Adrian's father died young, collapsing on a construction site when our boy was barely 5. No insurance, no savings, just me, juggling 3 jobs. Days at the district office, nights at the grocery store, weekends typing reports. Birthdays with homemade cakes. Clothes passed down and repackaged as bargains. When Audrine begged for a computer in high school, I sold my wedding ring. He never asked where the money came from. I never told him. And through it all, I saved. A few dollars here, a hidden envelope there. At first, for emergencies. But soon it became a lifeline. A dream of silence. A house without thin walls or sirens outside the window. When Audrine left for college, I thought maybe I'd finally rest. But the phone calls came tuition, shortfalls, rent, car repairs. I gave and gave and gave. Quiet stayed out of reach. When I finally signed the deed to the house, I thought I'd beaten the noise. I thought I'd earned peace. But my own family turned against me before I'd even stepped inside. I remember the dinner at my sister's house as if it happened yesterday. The table was crowded, the air thick with roast and judgment. I announced carefully, "I've been saving for years. I'm finally ready to buy a house." Silence. Adrian's lips curved, but it wasn't a smile. "You don't need a house, Mom. We have kids. We need space. You'll just rattle around alone." Talia leaned forward, her tone light but sharp. "Honestly, it feels selfish not to think of us first." I looked around the table, hoping someone would defend me. My sister only nodded in agreement. That night, I forced a smile but felt something snap inside. They would never know my plans again. The red-doored house came 2 weeks later. White siding. A yard shaded by oaks. Sunlight across wooden floors. Granite counters cool beneath my hand. It was modest, quiet, waiting for me. I signed a loan, tears slipping onto the final page. My keys jingled softly as I walked through the rooms that night. No fanfare. No announcement. Just me and the silence I had bought with decades of sacrifice. Only Mrs. Cortez knew. She promised to watch when I traveled. That was enough. But Adrian and Talia found out anyway. They came uninvited during a small backyard gathering. Adrian strutted through my living room, shaking hands like the host. Talia's eyes darted across my kitchen, touching things that weren't hers. She spun my keys on her finger, laughing about my locks. My stomach tightened. When they left, I knew. The house was marked. The next trip proved me right. Mrs. Cortez called again. Lights, music. I wanted to believe she was wrong. When I returned with an apology pie, she showed me the video. Grainy but undeniable shadows moving inside my house. That week, I installed cameras. Every corner, every door. From then on, vigilance replaced trust. On my next trip, the alert came. Motion detected, living room. I opened the feed. Adrian lounged in my armchair. Talia clinked glasses in the center. Strangers poured drinks from my cabinets. Children thundered across my floors. This time I didn't call him. I didn't beg. I called 911. There are intruders in my home. I told the dispatcher. My voice trembled, but it was steady enough. They're my family. The feed captured everything. The officers at the door. Rob, one of Adrian's friends, shoving his chest forward, defiant. In seconds, his arms twisted behind him, cuffs flashing. Audrine pleaded. Talia clutched her glass, but the officers didn't bend. One by one, they led them outside. Neighbors filmed as my family was escorted into squad cars. My living room emptied again, silent. But the betrayal echoed louder than the music ever had. At the station, Adrienne begged. Mom, please. Tell them it was permission. Say it was a misunderstanding. Talia's mascara streaked as she clung to him. We just needed space. For the kids. You can't do this to us. But the officer slid papers across the table. Your daughter-in-law copied your keys. Someone leaked your travel schedule. Adrian's eyes searched mine, pleading like the boy he once was. But I'd seen too much. I signed the papers. The fallout was swift. Adrienne, fined. Rob fired. Talia abandoned by friends. Their bright facades cracked under the weight of consequences. I didn't answer their calls. I didn't return their messages. Instead, I've scrubbed every surface of my house, replaced every lock, and reset every password. It wasn't just cleaning, it was reclaiming DHS. One morning, Mrs. Cortez and I sat on the porch. Sweet bread between us, coffee warm in our hands. We watched the sun climb, gilding the quiet street. For the first time, I breathed without fear that someone would take it away. That house was not just walls. It was proof of every long shift, every sleepless night, every sacrifice invisible to those I loved. It was my line in the sand. My survival carved from silence. And as I sat there, the red door behind me, I realized something. Approval could be stolen. Family could betray. But peace was mine to claim. So when people tell me about family loyalty, I only smile faintly. They don't know the price of silence. They don't know the cost of betrayal. But if you do, you'll understand why I tell this story. It's why I ask you, with sincerity, to follow along and subscribe to Shattered Bonds. Because stories like mine aren't rare, they're just unspoken. In the end, I found more than a house. I found proof that I could survive without their permission, without their approval. Proof that sometimes love is not enough, and silence becomes the only shield. This is my truth. This is the cost of sacrifice. And if you want to hear more stories of betrayal, resilience, and survival, you should stay close. Subscribe to Shattered Bonds, because peace is fragile and not every bond is worth keeping.